Hi there. Real quick before we jump into the episode. If you enjoy this episode, or any of the other episodes, be sure to give us a follow or subscribe. It would also be great if you shared it with a friend, or better yet, left a review so others can know how awesome it is. Thanks so much. And now, the episode.
Hey there, press starters, and welcome to the Press Start Leadership Podcast, the podcast about game-changing leadership, teaching you how to get the most out of your product and development team and become the leader you were meant to be. Leadership coaching and training for the international game industry professional. Now, let me introduce you to your host, the man, the myth, the legend, Christopher Mifsud.
Hey there, Press Starters, and welcome back to another awesome edition of the Press Start Leadership Podcast. On this week's episode, we'll be discussing creative IP ecosystems, how transmedia studios build sustainable franchise growth, why leaders in the video game industry must embrace transmedia storytelling to expand creative IP ecosystems and ensure long-term franchise success. The video game industry has entered an age where successful intellectual property is no longer confined to a single medium. A character or universe born in a game may soon live on television, in comics, or even in novels, tabletop games, and merchandise. This convergence has given rise to what we call creative IP ecosystems, interconnected story and product webs designed to sustain audience engagement across platforms. Leaders in transmedia studios face an increasingly complex challenge: how to cultivate IP that works across multiple channels while still maintaining creative integrity, fan trust, and sustainable growth. In an era where audience attention is fragmented and entertainment competition is fierce, transmedia studios cannot afford to treat games, shows, or comics as siloed ventures. Instead, the goal is to weave them together into one coherent creative IP ecosystem. This is not simply about maximizing revenue streams, though that is an important outcome. It is about ensuring long-term franchise growth by delivering immersive worlds where fans can explore different facets of the same universe through different mediums. A well-led transmedia strategy turns passive consumers into active participants who stay engaged with your IP for years, even decades. The rise of creative IP ecosystems in the game industry. Over the last decade, we have seen more game properties leap from consoles and PCs into streaming platforms, comic book shelves, and beyond. The League of Legends franchise expanded into the critically acclaimed Netflix series Arcane, which not only drew in millions of new viewers, but also reinvigorated interest in the game itself. The Witcher began as novels, transformed into one of the most beloved game franchises, and now thrives as a Netflix juggernaut. Even smaller indie titles like Hades have received comic adaptations, showing that transmedia potential is not limited to AAA studios. This is the power of creative IP ecosystems. When led strategically, transmedia studios do not just create games. They cultivate living, breathing franchises that evolve across mediums. Fans discover entry points that match their preferred format, whether they are gamers, binge watchers, or comic readers, and eventually become invested in the larger world. For leaders, this means thinking holistically. The challenge is not just making a great game, but envisioning how that game's lore, characters, and themes might resonate across multiple storytelling and commercial channels. The benefits of building creative IP ecosystems. Leaders considering the creative IP ecosystem approach should recognize the core benefits of transmedia studio strategy. 1. Diversified revenue streams. Games are often cyclical, with peaks at launch followed by dips in engagement. Expanding IP in the TV, comics, and other media creates sustainable franchise growth by tapping into multiple industries at once. A streaming deal can fund future expansions. A comic adaptation can create buzz between sequels. 2. Extended audience lifespan. Franchises that thrive across multiple mediums keep fans engaged longer. A game may last for hundreds of hours, but a show or comic can sustain interest during downtime. This builds ecosystem resilience, preventing IP from fading during long development cycles. 3. Expanded market reach. Not everyone plays games. Not everyone reads comics. but many consumers engage in at least one of these formats. By operating as transmedia studios, leaders create multiple entry points that expand IP reach to broader audiences. 4. Stronger fan communities. A robust creative IP ecosystem fosters vibrant communities. Fans debate story arcs, share theories across platforms, and generate user content. These communities reinforce loyalty and transform casual fans into ambassadors. 5. Greater longevity and cultural relevance. Franchises like Star Wars or Marvel endure because they were built as ecosystems from the beginning. For video game IPs, taking a transmedia approach today lays the foundation for decades of relevance. Core leadership principles for transmedia studios. Leading creative IP ecosystems requires different thinking than traditional single-medium projects. Leaders must embrace these principles. A unified vision across mediums. Consistency is key. Characters, lore, and themes must feel cohesive whether they appear in game cutscene, TV series, or graphic novel. Leaders must create a franchise Bible or world guide to maintain narrative alignment across teams and media partners. Empower collaboration between disciplines. Game developers, screenwriters, comic artists, and producers must collaborate seamlessly. Silos are the enemy of the transmedia studio. Leaders must encourage open dialogue across departments and ensure each creative partner understands the shared vision. Audience-centric thinking. Fans consume IP in non-linear ways. Some start with the comic, then play the game. Others binge the show before picking up the controller. Leaders must design experiences that reward fans regardless of entry point, creating a consistent sense of belonging to the same creative IP ecosystem. Agile, iterative leadership. Transmedia projects often take years. Markets change. Audience expectations shift. Leaders must adapt while protecting core IP values. Borrowing lessons from agile game development, leaders should approach franchise growth as iterative and flexible. Long-term sustainability. The temptation is to exploit IP with as many products as possible, but overextension can dilute brand value. Leaders must balance ambition with restraint, focusing on sustainable franchise growth over quick wins. Actionable steps. How to build a creative IP ecosystem. Leaders often ask, how do we actually begin transforming a game into a transmedia franchise? Below are actionable steps for studio leaders ready to expand into creative IP ecosystems. Step 1. Start with a strong core game. A transmedia franchise cannot exist without a compelling foundation. Ensure your first product, often the game, is strong enough to sustain interest. Invest in deep world building, memorable characters, and a strong narrative arc that naturally lends themselves to expansion. Step 2. Build a franchise Bible. Document the universe. This includes timelines, character backstories, locations, themes, and tone. Franchise Bible prevents contradictions and guides external partners such as comic writers or TV producers. Step 3. Identify natural extensions. Not every game should become a TV show or comic. Leaders must analyze where the IP naturally fits. For instance, lore-heavy universes often thrive in books or shows, while action-focused games might translate better into animated shorts. Step 4. Choose partners strategically. Partnering with the right publisher, streamer, or comic label is crucial. Leaders should vet partners for alignment with the IP's vision, values, and target audience. Remember, one poor adaptation can damage the entire ecosystem. Step 5. Involve core creators. Fans value authenticity. Involve original game writers, directors, or artists in adaptations to preserve the creative DNA. This does not mean they must control everything, but their fingerprints should be visible. Step 6. Stagger releases for engagement. A transmedia strategy thrives on timing. Leaders should map out releases strategically. A show launch can coincide with game expansions, while comics can fill narrative gaps during production lulls. This ensures constant touchpoints with fans. Step 7. Encourage community participation. Creative IP ecosystems flourish when fans feel ownership. Encourage fan art, modding, and community events. Build community channels where fans can engage with content across mediums. Step 8. Measure, learn, adapt. Use analytics from each platform, such as game telemetry, show viewership, comic sales, to understand what resonates. Leaders must continuously learn and adapt their transmedia approach. Overcoming challenges in creative IP ecosystems. Building a creative IP ecosystem is not without risks. Leaders must prepare for common obstacles. Creative dilution. Expanding into too many mediums too quickly can dilute brand identity. Leaders must pace expansions and maintain quality. Conflicting visions. Different partners may interpret IP differently. Leaders must mediate conflicts and enforce franchise alignment. Fan backlash. Fans are protective. A poor adaptation can cause long-term damage. Leaders must ensure authenticity and respect for fan investment. Resource strain. Expanding into multiple mediums is expensive. Leaders must ensure financial sustainability and avoid overextending the studio. Measuring success in creative IP ecosystems. To lead a transmedia studio effectively, leaders must go beyond creative intuition. Success in building creative IP ecosystems requires measurable indicators. Tracking outcomes ensures that leadership efforts align with both fan expectations and business goals. Audience engagement metrics. Track active player counts, viewership data for TV adaptations, and comics or book sales. High overlap between platforms is a strong indicator that the IP ecosystem is working. Franchise retention and longevity. Measure how long fans stay engaged with the IP. Retention across multiple products shows that the audience is invested in the creative IP ecosystem, not just a single release. Brand sentiment. Monitor social media conversations, fan forums, and review scores. Positive sentiment around adaptations signal healthy transmedia expansion. Financial sustainability. Sustainable franchise growth means revenue across platforms supports reinvestment in future projects. Leaders must evaluate whether comics, shows, or merchandise meaningfully contribute to the ecosystem. Community growth. Community numbers reflect the strength of the ecosystem. Look at growth in Discord servers, subreddit memberships, and fan-created content. A thriving community is both a metric and a driver of long-term success. Leadership role in building IP ecosystems. While the creative process involves teams of designers, writers, and producers, the role of leadership is unique in transmedia studios. Leaders are responsible for ensuring that each brand of the ecosystem reinforces the whole. This involves both strategic oversight and human-centered management. Vision setting. Leaders must define the overarching vision for the IP. This includes what themes it explores, who the core audience is, and where the franchise should expand over time. Partnership management. Leaders must negotiate and manage relationships with external studios, publishers, and distributors. Every deal impacts the creative IP ecosystem, so strong negotiation and alignment skills are essential. Resource allocation. Building across multiple mediums requires resource balancing. Leaders must decide where to allocate funds and talent to maximize impact without burning out teams. Cultural stewardship. Leadership is not just about products, it's about culture. Leaders must champion a culture of respect for creativity, fan trust, and authenticity. Actionable leadership steps for transmedia studios. To translate the theory of creative IP ecosystems into daily practice, leaders should consider the following actionable steps. Step 1. Establish a franchise leadership team. Do not leave IP oversight to chance. Create a dedicated team that ensures consistency across mediums. This group should include representatives from game design, narrative, marketing, and community engagement. Step 2. Create a transmedia roadmap. Develop a 5 to 10 year plan for IP growth. The roadmap should outline which mediums to pursue, release timelines, and key milestones. While it should remain flexible, the roadmap keeps all stakeholders aligned. Step 3. Build knowledge repositories. Maintain shared documentation such as wikis, franchise bibles, and lore databases. These tools prevent contradictions and ensure partners have access to authoritative resources. Step 4. Pilot small experiments. Before launching a full TV series or film, test smaller transmedia projects. Animated shorts, webcomics, or podcasts can validate audience interest without the same financial risks. Step 5. Train teams in transmedia storytelling. Invest in training for writers, artists, and designers to help them think in multi-platform terms. The more staff understands the creative IP ecosystem, the more authentic their contributions will be. Step 6. Schedule regular cross-discipline reviews. Hold quarterly reviews that bring together different teams to align progress. These meetings prevent silos and ensure the ecosystem is growing cohesively. Step 7. Engage with fans directly. Use Q&A sessions, developer diaries, and behind-the-scenes content to include fans in the journey. Fans appreciate transparency, and early feedback helps refine transmedia strategies. Overcoming challenges in creative IP ecosystems. Even the most well-planned strategies encounter challenges. Leaders in transmedia studios should anticipate these and develop responses. Challenge 1. Fear of dilution. Studios sometimes hesitate to expand IP for fear of losing its core identity. Leaders must frame transmedia as an opportunity for reinforcement rather than dilution, provided expansions remain faithful to the original DNA. Challenge 2. Production pressure. Simultaneous development across multiple mediums can overwhelm teams. Leaders should stagger projects and use external partners to avoid burnout. Challenge 3. Financial risk. Entering new industries can be expensive. Leaders must run due diligence on potential returns and weigh them against opportunity costs. Partnerships that share financial risk are often the safest approach. Challenge 4. Fan expectations. Fans are often protective of their favorite IP. Leaders should respect this by involving original creators and being transparent about changes. Listening to fan communities can prevent major missteps. Challenge 5. Internal resistance. Not everyone in the studio may agree with a transmedia approach. Leaders should educate staff on the benefits of creative IP ecosystems and emphasize how it contributes to long-term stability. Examples of missteps in transmedia leadership. Learning from mistakes is as important as studying successes. Some franchises have struggled when expanding in their creative IP ecosystems. Oversaturation. When a franchise releases too many spin-offs at once, quality declines and fans lose interest. Poor adaptation choices. A rushed or misaligned adaptation can damage the IP. For example, live-action films that drastically alter lore often alienate fans. Ignoring the core audience. Expanding to new markets is valuable, but not at the cost of losing loyal players. Leaders must balance growth with the respect of the foundation. These examples highlight the importance of restraint, alignment, and fan respect in building sustainable transmedia ecosystems. Final thoughts. Leading transmedia studios with vision and care. The rise of creative IP ecosystems represents one of the most exciting opportunities for the video game industry. Leaders who embrace this model can transform single titles into sustainable franchises that captivate audiences across games, TVs, comic, and beyond. Yet, leadership in this space is not just about business strategy. It is about stewardship. Fans trust leaders to treat their favorite worlds with care, consistency, and creativity. Expanding into a transmedia studio model demands both vision and empathy. As you move forward in your own leadership journey, remember that building a creative IP ecosystem is not just about chasing trends. It is about creating lasting, meaningful universes that resonate with audiences for generations. By following the actual steps outlined here, leaders can set the foundations for sustainable franchise growth and inspire both their team and their fans. The challenge is great, but so is the reward. A carefully led creative IP ecosystem has the potential not only to grow revenue streams, but also to leave a cultural legacy that endures for decades. All right, and that's this week's episode of the Press Start Leadership Podcast. Thanks for listening, and as always, thanks for being awesome.
Oh, hi. And the episode's over, but thanks for sticking around till the end. Be sure to check out more episodes in the playlist and new episodes every week on Monday. Follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Don't forget to leave a review. Thanks again for being awesome.